David Dobrik could be in big trouble with the way State Farm Insurance is currently trying to come after him. In a recent H3 episode, Ethan said he was made aware of a new case against David, and after looking into things, they're about to get very messy for him. Currently, Jeff Wittek is suing David for his eye injury, and in them going back and forth with their lawyers, David is now in trouble with State Farm Insurance because he tried to get them to pay for Jeff's accident, and now they're basically trying to take David to court so they don't have to pay up. The complaint is for declaratory relief, which is basically them wanting to waive their responsibility to have to cover the whole situation. And we'll get into it, but basically it sounds like the policies David has doesn't apply to what's happened, so them having to pay up is probably not going to happen. It sounds like in the beginning State Farm was willing to pay, but then as more information was gathered, they realized what happened and the coverage that he has doesn't match. In the complaint, it says plaintiff agreed to provide a defense to defendant David Dobrik, subject to reservation of rights based upon the provisions of the policies referred to above. And then it says plaintiff contends that the loss is excluded because it arises out of the business pursuits of State Farm's insured. In addition, plaintiff contends the loss is excluded because Wittek is a person eligible to receive benefits under a workers' compensation law. Therefore, the exclusions cited above preclude coverage for any eventual judgment or settlement. Reading this through, I don't think State Farm paid David any money yet, and this is just their way of getting out of having to in the future of this case. I know on H3, Ethan said that they paid him for Jeff's medical bills and for them to settle, but there's nothing in here that specifically says anything about any dollar amount actually given, and not even them asking for any money back. There's not even a dollar amount redacted. It all sounds very hypothetical, like in the event of a settlement, they want to be waived of their responsibility to cover for David. At least that's how I'm interpreting it.
And so when it came time to pay for Jeff's medical and the settlement, apparently from this lawsuit that Jeff has enacted against David, David went to his insurance company, State Farm, and said, yo, umbrella insurance got to cover this. And they did. They paid out an undisclosed amount of money. And I do wonder, I feel like it had to be 7 figures. They're seeking to be reimbursed. They're not obligated to pay. David Dobrik, defendant, liability, damage, judgment, settlements, or punitive damage at all that arise from the lawsuit.
So I don't know where Ethan's lawyer got that or how he interpreted that they had already paid and already settled, because I don't think that has happened yet. They all just seem to be talking in hypothetical throughout the entire complaint. But the reason why State Farm is saying that they don't have to cover any of this is because they're saying Jeff was entitled to workers' compensation, which might be confusing because the last we all pretty much thought David wasn't classifying any of the Vlog Squad members as actual employees, but it sounds like State Farm is viewing the Vlog Squad members as employees even if David never said they were. None of the members talked about paperwork of sorts or being paid to be in videos. He's gifted them things and such and given them careers, but besides Natalie being his assistant, nobody else seemed to have ever publicly said they were an employee. But State Farm is saying that Jeff is entitled to workers' compensation whether or not David considered him as an official employee or not. I feel like they're basically reading into Jeff's case against David where he's trying to get compensated for his injuries, and the description of what happened, all for his YouTube channel, is technically making what happened something that occurred when David was doing something for his business. According to the lawsuit, David Dobrik allegedly was not advised of safety features. The excavator was taken to Utah Lake in Provo, Utah. David Dobrik had planned his social media comeback and had solicited the help of several collaborators and independent contractors, including Jeffrey Wittek. And according to California Work Injury, typically independent contractors aren't able to get workers' comp, but on the site they said generally the answer is no. However, employers often improperly classify their employees as independent contractors to avoid paying payroll taxes, minimum wage, or overtime, or complying with other wage and hour requirements such as providing meal periods and rest breaks, etc. Additionally, employers do not have to cover independent contractors under workers' compensation insurance. However, because potential liabilities and penalties are significant, it is important that each working relationship be thoroughly researched and analyzed before classifying an individual as an independent contractor and not an employee. Pursuant to Labor Code Section 3357, the Division of Labor Standards Enforcement presumes that a worker is an employee. In the lawsuit, they state that David only has homeowner's insurance and personal liability umbrella insurance through State Farm. No workers' compensation insurance is listed, which is crazy because according to the state of California, California employers are required by law to have workers' compensation insurance even if they have only one employee. And we know he at least had Natalie as an employee, so the fact that he didn't have this, it's clearly biting him now. So David trying to get this whole situation covered by insurance seems to be failing because State Farm believes the policies he does have don't fit the situation. David, having said up, down, and sideways that these are not his employees, these are my friends, probably thought personal liability umbrella insurance would take care of this because it covers things like your dog biting someone, accidents at your house, things like that. But because this accident wasn't just a bunch of friends hanging out, no cameras involved, just a vacation gone wrong, and was actually them filming content for a video and an accident occurred, State Farm believes Jeff is entitled to workers' compensation. They are most likely reading the current lawsuit between David and Jeff and realizing that this is not just an issue between two friends, but a workplace scenario, as they were doing this for David's vlogs, meaning they were doing this for David Dobrik LLC. And State Farm seems to just be like, nah, this does not fit the bill. You're an employer. This doesn't fall under your personal insurance. So it looks like this is about to come out of pocket for David in the end with the way that this is all sounding and looking. But as of right now, all of this is still ongoing. Jeff just recently gave an update on the entire lawsuit to the paparazzi this past week, and it seems to still be quite the headache.
He's just running from the courts, trying to just make up a bunch of lies and try to use money to force me out, the smaller guy. But we're fighting it. I got the power, the people support behind me. I feel the support. I feel the love from the people that see the truth, and that's what keeps me going, man.
We've known pretty much since the beginning that the money with the medical bills and that getting covered for Jeff has been a whole messy situation. Jeff opened up last year about medical expenses not getting paid by David, and Natalie and David tried to defend themselves on the Views podcast at the time, making it seem like Jeff wouldn't tell them about his surgeries that they would have paid for. But clearly from what we're seeing and hearing, David really has just been trying to get all of this out of his own hands, and it's just not working out for him.
The hospital bills, which is one of his gripes, and his credit is messed up, is what he told me. But you guys are saying that you have tried to pay the hospital bills, right? But his assistant hasn't reached back out.
Well, let me get into that.
Okay.
I think the hospital bills.
This is tough. I'm not like trying to speak for Jeff, but I think it's fair that someone does.
No. Definitely someone should be speaking for Jeff because he's not here. I don't love the fact that he's going around saying I don't pay for surgeries. Like that fucking hurts. Like I want to help him. I really truly do. Yeah. And like he still has my word. Like I told him that I pay for his surgeries. He can still, and the reason we haven't been paying for a surgery, I don't know if it's his assistant's fault or Jeff just told him to back off from us, but like I don't handle that stuff more. I just give approval to spend that, whatever.
Right.
But like Natalie has asked multiple times, like loop us into all these surgeries, and we're just not getting looped into anything. Mm-hmm. And then we're blindsided when he goes to another surgery, and then he'll like come out and be like his most recent surgery. I didn't know that he had a surgery until he unfollowed me on Instagram. And that's because, you know, it's a two-way street. We can be like, when's your next surgery? But also no one's looping us into what we need to be paying for. And to this day, like I'm still keeping my word. Like I want him to send me whatever he needs me to pay for. Like I will pay for it. But it's just not fair to say that we haven't been paying for it because
I've paid literally every single bill that has ever been sent.
Every bill and well as long as he needs it.
I wonder when State Farm got involved, if David tried to file a claim after Jeff sued him or before or what, but regardless, this just all seems to add to the list of things David did wrong in running his channel. We thought not having proper safety measures in place was one thing, but then to be so risky and also not even have the right insurance to protect if something did happen is just a recipe for disaster right there. Because if he did have the right insurance, the situation wouldn't be as complicated as it's become. But had he had the right insurance, it probably would have required him to have viewed his friends as employees and take their lives seriously. And from what we've seen, he hasn't. So clearly David is not making it any easier for Jeff, and it's not getting any easier for David either. But that is what's going on with this whole case. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.